All right, so recording again.
Dave screwed up.
I did. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, it's take two. Dave screwed up the first one, so this is take two.
Dave screwed up the first take.
It's been a while since I had all the music queued up and everything here. But anyway, this is episode 237 of the Digital to Dice podcast.
That is the Major League batting average as a whole in 1968.
Wow.
They hit 237.
Wow.
I had to look that up. I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. If you get a phone call from an area code that says 237, don't answer. It's from Cameroon.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, but that was the Major League batting average for the American League and National League combined in 1968.
Now, is that high or low?
Well, that's low.
Is it low?
That might be one of the lowest ever. This year is low, and it's at 244.
Okay.
Back in the offensive boom around the turn of this century, it ranged between 260 and 265. 250 is about what you want.
Okay.
There's a good balance there if the league is hitting 250. 237 is, you're playing your ball, dead ball. And, you get close to 270 and it gets into beer league softball, Just because you dress for beer league softball doesn't mean you really want your major league
I think beer
hitters
league
to be.
softball is a lot bigger than that. There's a lot of hits in beer league softball.
Oh, no, beer league softball, 400, 450,
easy.
500.
Yeah.
There's a YouTube thing that I sub to out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay.
And it's now that we're in the fall again, they've started up, and it's pretty much old fart softball all day. And they don't, they have the four bases and that, and everyone gets a hit. And every pitch I've seen is required to hit home plate. So you're hitting it off a bounce to begin with.
Really?
Off a wooden home plate, yeah. And where you score is separate from where you hit. So the third baseline juts out on an angle. So there's never you don't want to play at the plate. Again, these people some of them make you and I look like kids.
Oh.
I can't imagine there's many people under 60 playing in this league.
That's weird.
But
weird.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
I watched I think it was Olympic softball one time. They had some high level softball.
Right.
And it was just all these fat guys, and it was like home run after home run after home run. I think it was the slow pitch softball too.
It would have a bona fide slow pitch or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't the whizzing in there. And I guess they capped it. You could only get so many runs an inning, and the United States just sent up all these guys with beer bellies, and it was like smacking them out. So they would just, I don't even think there'd be any outs, and they would hit the limit, and just that would be that. It was just kind of weird to watch. It was just a home run derby,
I mean, this league, the power alleys are 275, and I haven't seen anyone, now granted I'm not sitting there watching it 4 or 5 hours a day, come remotely close to warning track power. I mean, they're not hitting it all that far, but it's fun to watch because it's safe. So there's no plays at the plate, and other teams move bats out of the way so no one trips up. But yeah,
that's fun. To watch
237 is a low batting average.
All righty. Hey, ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com, digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. Digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the best way to get a hold of us by email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/digitaltodice, and you can help us keep this show going. We've been on for over 5 years, thanks to your support.
Wow, yeah.
And we continue on. Let's see. Couple things here to get going first. Got a real nice email from Keith Avalone from Play.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And just confirming that I will be going out to PlayCon next late spring, early summer. I think they're in June or July is when they're going to set these up there. So he's just confirming back that I was going to go, and I was like, yep, I'm definitely going to go. I'm checking with the wife to see if she wants to go. I'm not sure how much there would be for her to do out there, but We do have relatives out there that maybe we'll go see and say hi for a day or something like that. But so yeah, he just sent me a nice message that he's nice that we finally met in Canton and had a good time, and we actually sat down and I had him on the show out there in Canton and we talked, and then off to the side we actually played a game of Fury football, which looks really fun. That I'm going to have to pick up a copy of that Fury football game. That looked really kind of fun. Very different. He called it an alt sports. It's a little bit of football, but with some different rules. But it was still very, very fun to play. And there is some strategy that I knew nothing about. I just kind of played and have fun. But you can play solitaire, and that's what makes it fun. Is that you can roll and get everything solitaire and kind of play it, hands free, so to speak, like how I like to play. And so I'm looking forward to that. So just a shout out to Keith for that. And that if you're going to PlayCon next spring or summer, I should be going out to that. And
that's always in Metro Denver.
Yeah, it's just outside of Denver. I forget the name of the town now. So I'll be heading out there. It should be fun. I'm going to bring the laptop and hopefully I can do some streaming like I did out in Canton. Hopefully I can get that on the plane and get it there in one piece. And so we should be able to do that and have some fun with that. So I wanted to get that mentioned here. Anything else I want to mention here? No.
Well, what are we talking about on the show?
Oh, yeah. Well, what are we talking about today?
Today we asked you out there, is there a player or a team that either always gets your goat or always underperforms? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But someone that, either greatness there except for when you're playing it, or playing against a certain team that tends to overperform against you.
So maybe call it players or teams that frustrate you.
It's the thing the toothpick can't reach. When you get that
yeah, it's just, man, there's something there and I just can't get it.
There's something there and I can't get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So we're going to talk about those teams and players that just kind of mess you up and they just drive you right.
So you gave us a lot of good answers, and we'll read that in a bit.
All righty. So why don't we start off with what we're playing here? What do you think?
All right.
All righty. I'll kick it off this week. No pun intended. Is all I'm really playing is football games.
Sweet.
I really am. I'm having so much fun with these football games. In fact, it's to a point where I don't know which one to play. I mean, I haven't played APBA since Canton. I played a little bit out in Canton, and I still think that's my favorite game. Not by much, but I still think it is. The only thing with APBA, though, is you're in for a penny, in for a pound with that, because it does take 15, 20 minutes to set up the cards. Once you get that set up, though, it's just pure joy. It really is.
Team sheets are a godsend for sure.
Yeah, so I've been playing some solitaire pro football. I've been back into that, and for some reason, it's going way smoother than it did a few years ago when I played it, and enjoying the heck out of that and having a lot of fun with the solitaire pro football. So that's back on the table. I picked up a couple of new seasons. I got, what did I get? 75 and 79. So I want to play that Super Bowl of 75, and I want to see if I can get the Buccaneers past the Eagles into that championship game. I might even have play Kansas City, see if they can win that last game of the season. So I picked up a couple of seasons for Solitaire Pro Football.
Shall I get some gallon bags of water to put overhead when you play that?
Oh, yeah. They don't really have weather effects in that, but...
No, I just figured that we just would get you soaked while you play. Laminate the sheets, obviously, but,
If you've ever seen the video of that last regular season game with Kansas City Tampa, it is pouring buckets, and there was like 10 fumbles, and it was a 3-0 game in the rain, and Tampa won it to move on to the playoffs, but... So I got 79 now in Solitaire Pro, enjoying that. Me and you actually played Cold Snap.
Yeah, we did. I enjoyed that.
I think that's the first time I've ever played Canadian football. And so that was really fun. It was different with the 3 downs instead of 4, the wider field, the longer field. It seemed like the offense was a little bit more potent when you made a play than American football, which it would need to be if you only get really couple of downs before you got to think about punting. We didn't. I
was watching a film the other day of you were talking about rounded end zones in there, and I saw a rounded end zone. It was from 1956.
Oh, it was a long, I thought there was one in like the 70s or the 80s that they had this.
Well, yeah, I mean, up until a few years ago, the end zones were 25 yards.
Okay.
And it's not going to fit into most stadiums. So, yes, there would be some sort of quarters that would need to be cut.
Okay.
Because you have 50 yards of end zones and then a 110-yard field.
Yeah. Now, this could be just a Mandela effect on me that when I used to watch Canadian football, that the end zone was rounded like a not as bad as a baseball diamond, let's say.
Right.
Like the infield of a baseball diamond. But I do remember seeing it a little deeper, and maybe it's just because it was 25 yards that it just looked that way.
It's hard to get. You can't really fit one inside of an athletic track like you would in an American college or a high school.
Yeah.
Like most of those fields are fit into a track.
Well, it's the same way with Olympic hockey rinks. You couldn't fit an Olympic hockey rink into the Boston Garden or Madison Square Garden. It's just there's no place to put it. Yeah.
So so I was watching some of the back then. The two conferences, it could be the Western Conference teams might have had to play 5 games to win the cup, while the Eastern teams could do it in as little as 2.
Wow.
So the Western did a semifinal with the second and third place teams, and they played a 2-game aggregate score semifinal. And then you went on to play another 2-game aggregate score final to then play for the Grey Cup. So this was Saskatchewan and Calgary. And so the reason I bring it up was that Calgary was up 35-9 after the first game and lost. Saskatchewan came back to win on some controversial plays, and they found film and blah, 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 blah. But if you missed the field goal or had the punt so deep in the end zone that you couldn't return it. Now, I don't know what the rules are now. I mean, this is, again, 68 years ago. If you took a knee, you conceded the point. So even if you missed the field goal, you could still get a point if it was not returnable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rouge.
Yeah, that's the single. We didn't have one of those in our game.
We didn't have one of those.
We had a field goal that was good, so that was that.
But just in case that you weren't quite clear about how you could score while missing, is because it's hit so deep that it can't be returned.
I was watching a game on TV the other day because they had a lot of Canadian football on TV, and the guy missed the field goal.
Weekend.
Guy missed the field goal, and it just sailed through the back of the end zone, so we got 1 instead of 3. So that's kind of how it works too, you know. So, but anyways, what does aggregate mean when you said aggregate score?
Total score. The combined score for the 2 games. I think they do that in the college hockey playoffs too.
Okay. No, I knew that, but I just was saying in case someone else was unaware of that. I knew what it was. I didn't. Okay. I didn't have to ask, but for other people, I just wanted to be sure that they knew what aggregate was. So it's when you add all your offensive points up. That's what it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. You could have just said total points instead of using all these big words on the show, you know?
That's the official term for it, is aggregate.
So anyway, so we played some cold snaps, so I got some Canadian football on the channel, got it on the table. So now I'm itching to break out 49 Quick Decks Canadian football version.
Yeah, very curious to see that.
Doing that. So I'm just playing so many football games, and I don't know which one to play. I mean, the cold snap was fun. Solitaire Pro was fun. Of course, I got my APA, which is fun. 49 Quick Decks, which is fun. And then I pulled out the last couple of days. I pulled out Second Season, and I actually played the full game. 1976, New England at Houston. That was fun. I had 2 safeties in the game. But I'll tell you what happened. They weren't. Well, they were kind of true safeties, but here's what happened. So it was 17-0 New England. Pastorini punts it out of bounds at the 1. So New England has it on the 1, and there's 2 plays left in the first half. So I roll, and it called for a medium pass. And I'm thinking, well, you're on the 1. You're probably going to run it. Maybe I should just run it. And I was like, no, I'm going to go with what the chart says, because I've been playing by the chart the whole game. And so I said, maybe they're going to try to spring something at the end of the half. It's 17-0. They're walking away with the game.
Catch him napping. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe you find, your wide receiver sprinting across and he can get a 50-yard gain, and now you try for a field goal. Whatever. So I went with it. Well, it turns out Grogan was hit in the end zone. He fumbled the ball. It was recovered by one of the linemen or something like that. And So in the end zone, that's a safety. So it was 17-2. Then later on, in the fourth quarter, the game was getting closer at that point. Houston had the ball on their own 2. And they were calling for a long pass because they were trailing by, 11 points it was. So they were calling for a long pass against, I think it was a pass defense, right? And I rolled it, and it was a holding call on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did from the 2-yard line, if it's a long pass, you need a long drop, you need some time. So I'm thinking he's in the end zone, and the holding took place in the end zone.
Foul, yeah.
And I called a safety on that. So I had 2 safeties. Both were kind of weird. Again, it wouldn't necessarily be going medium pass from your own 1 at the end of the half, but I did. And I just went with the call. And then over here, I got the holding, and I'm thinking, if this was the 4 or the 5, I might have not done that. But at the 2-yard line, I think it was, I'm thinking it's holding in the end zone. So I'm kind of thinking from the 3 and in, if it's holding on the offense, it would probably be a safety.
You always roll 1 die.
Yeah, you could roll a decider, I guess, but and because it was a long pass, you need to drop and get it.
7-step drop.
Yeah, a short or a screen. I might have just gone with a hold, but still from the 2-yard line. I mean, you're dropping back. You're from the 2, you're in the end zone blocking. You really are, unless it's like a quick dart.
I wouldn't second guess that. I mean, when you said that, when you described that to me before we started taping, yeah, absolutely.
So the question out for the community is, if you're playing a cards and dice football game and there's a holding on the offense on a pass play and you're near your own goal line, where do you draw the line? Where would you call it a safety, and where would you not call it a safety? Where would you just call it half the distance of the goal line? Would it be the 5, the 4, 3, 2, 1? I mean, just throwing it out there. I like people's opinions on that. I believe I just went with common sense, and that was how I read the play. Again, this is just a one-off for me, just learning the game. So, so I had 2 safeties. I think it finished like 29-16 or something like that. It was a weird game, but I had a lot of fun with it. Getting pretty good at it now. It's still taking me about an hour a quarter, and I'm just in basic mode right now, but very enjoyable game. It really is all these games have been enjoyable. And that's the thing, is I come down here and I'm in a football mode. Football season's kicking off. It's like, which game do I play? I don't know which one to play because they're all just so much fun. They really are. So now
the correct answer is baseball, but
yeah.
But you.
Yeah. So I'm digging through, and I'm like, even season ticket football, I haven't played that in a bit, and that's another fantastic
There's a game you haven't mentioned that you also played and did a video on.
Yeah, I did. We played that in Canton too a couple weeks ago.
No. One that you did a video on this week.
Solitaire Pro.
Pro Strategy.
Oh, that's right.
New version of that came out this week, too.
And I'm playing Action PC. I'm in the playoffs. I had 2 awesome wild card games that come down to the last play or 2 in each, and then we went to overtime. Both wild card games went to overtime, so I played those. That's my 79 season. Classic. Oh,
comeback. I didn't notice the other one went to overtime. I knew that Oakland and Cleveland did.
Yeah, Oakland drove the field and tied it and won it in overtime, and Philadelphia drove the field. And I think they had a 4th and goal from the 3 with 2 seconds left, and they got a touchdown to tie it and go into overtime. So both went to overtime. I think both visitors actually won. And then, Pro Strategy Football come out, the new version come out with that, and I did a first look video on that. So it's been wall-to-wall football over here. It really has as the football season kicks off. So, thanks for pointing those out. I did play some PC football games too. So, so again, since I got back from Canton, I got the game playing bug. Just in time for busy season. In 2 weeks, my schedule goes bonkers working.
Your hockey cards called. They're lonely.
My hockey cards are lonely. My 79 baseball season is filing for non-support because I'm in September. I need to finish that up, but I'm enjoying the football.
John Kiley is going to call you for workman's comp. He's been playing the organ so long at Fenway Park.
Yeah, it's keeping the fans entertained while they're waiting for baseball to kick off again. But no, I just been enjoying the football. I've been enjoying playing the different games for football. So that is that. So I've been playing a ton of football, and really enjoying it. So what have you been doing?
Let's see. I've been doing a fair share of football, and I showed off 3 different games this week on the channel, or since we talked about what we were playing last time. World of Motor Racing, which has nothing to do with football. The more detailed Formula One sim from Lambourne, Owsat Games over in the UK. Posted a sample, did a video on that, and got some good feedback from people who played the game and what I did wrong. And I went through and played a race and hopefully got it right, and that was enjoyable. And then bought a bunch more seasons. So again, we could do an entire show on games that are really, really fun, but do not show off well at all. And that's one of those, because those games deserve some love too, depending on what it is and what your fan base is. But my goodness, I mean, Dave Arlington, your friend and mine, commented, it's like, people really don't want to watch you fill out forms, but it really is enjoyable. And games like that, where you're just writing stuff down on paper, or me just typing in stuff on Excel and rolling dice, it's just hard to convey.
There are so many games like that, not only the tabletop games, but even with video games. There's so many fun games, but they're hard to watch.
Yes.
We had that.
And there's nothing you can really do to make that exciting, especially if you're doing your first look, because you don't really know how to play it yourself. You're just kind of feeling it out for yourself. And, I've done some auto racing where we've done the Jim McKay at the Indy 500 creative edits to, all right, here we go, okay, back in the booth. If you watch the end of the race, now you can call the end of the race. But then again, it's not the same as doing a live event where you don't know what's going to happen and that. And I mean, trust me, I've screwed up enough videos.
Yeah, but there was some video games that I played back in the day. I used to stream video games, and there were so many of them that I would play and put on the channel, whatever it was, whether it was Twitch or whatever. And they were just so boring to watch. But they were so fun to play, but you just couldn't watch them for whatever reason, one reason or another. Either it was just the motion was too fast, or you got sick watching it, or it was just so boring, so much going on that was just tedious stuff that,
right.
Again, it's very visual. So, I mean, most video games work. But there were a few that were like, people like, yeah, this, when you're playing this, it's one thing, but when you're watching it, it's terrible.
Right.
So, and that's how some of these tabletop games are. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
Boy, they're so fun, but to try to show them off, it really is. It's a math PowerPoint presentation, and
So I had on Mike in the truck last Tuesday night, and
saw that.
We did. It's not just Password; it's Password Plus, Family Football Plus. I meant to do that with him, and I completely forgot. And so we did what the old playoff bowl, which was in the 1960s. The NFL took the 2 runners up, sent them to Miami after New Year's, and they played an exhibition game that 3 people cared about. And so we did the Lions and the Ravens, because apparently I'd forgotten that we had done this. We did the Kansas City and San Francisco for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So we did the runners up for 23, and Baltimore Lamar Jackson just ran up one side of Detroit and down the other. I think it was 35-10. But we did that. You can watch that on my channel, and apparently he has every season rated with scores, some new rare plays that are in there, and his use of the SRS index that you can freely get from Pro Football Reference to determine on each possession whether you're rolling off a team's offense or your opponent's defense. Mm-hmm. So not a difficult game, one that you can easily play to casual football fans or kids that might be interested in this type of gaming. So we did that and had a good time. And I did a video for Carrie's Pro Strategy Football 2025, which now has a management career mode, smoother graphics, scoreboard options, fog for weather. It was the mod community on the day of the release had 84 seasons.
Oh, nice.
With graphics, with correct helmets and fields and all that. So there's now 3 different there's 4 different game modes. There's exhibition, and you can now pit. You don't need to be the same season anymore. I thought that was always the case, but I was told that was not. So you could take the 1962 Packers and play them against the 2007 New England Patriots if you so chose. So you can match up any 2 teams that you have and play them against each other. The rules, I must have spent 10 minutes in that video going through everything rule-wise you could customize. He's pretty much establishing, although no one's done the seasons yet, for Canadian football. There's 3 downs and overtime rules and all that. There's a management career, which I suppose there's no trading per se, but there's waiver wires and drafts, and you can cut teams and move teams around and that. And then the traditional historical career where you just take one team and go as long as you want, and you just play a season out. So there's 4 different ways to play, and it all looks very, very good. Let's see what else. We United Cold Snap together. My 88 baseball replay is past Labor Day, and I think the A's aren't going to make it. I don't know if it's going to be Minnesota or Kansas City in that division, but the A's are 9 out, and there's 20 some odd games to go. It would take an absolute both teams aren't going to collapse. The A's have some games against Minnesota and Kansas City, but they'd have to win them all, I think, to really have a chance. So there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance that we've talked back and forth over the years. Do you want real teams in your postseason, or do you want there to be variety? We could have 3 different teams in the playoffs than were in there in real life. The only real life team that's guaranteed to make it are the Mets. The Dodgers are in second place behind the Reds. The Red Sox are in a dogfight with Detroit and Toronto. And again, Minnesota and Kansas City are the 2 best records in baseball. It's not like Oakland's had a bad year. Just run of the draw. So, and then we'll get to the topic of the show, which brought me to bring to this up. Oh, I also pulled out roster card baseball. I've been playing some of that.
Okay.
Since.
Yeah, you like that one.
Yep. It runs hot. So I've been playing an awful lot, but yeah, so a lot of different variety of things too. So
that's good. Yeah, it sounds like we've been both kind of hitting the gaming pretty hard here toward the end of the summer. Usually I'm in my gaming funk right now, but boy, I tell you, since going to Canton,
it's cooled right off here. The wind chill tomorrow morning is supposed to be 43 in town.
Yep.
So it's that time of year. Time to get cozy and watch the Giants get crushed.
Yeah, right. All right, so should we get to our topic of the day?
Yes. So we asked you, who on your tabletop or PC underperforms, you can't beat, whatever it is, kind of unexpected, What can't you pick out with a toothpick?
What is it about this team or this player that it's just like, holy cow, every time this team comes into town or this player gets, it's like he either just disappoints or he overplays. Yeah, so it's just, and we've all had them. Yeah, it is uncanny that there's always this certain team or certain player. It's like, you again? You again?
So when you were playing the 85-86 Celtics replay basketball, you couldn't beat the 85-86 Atlanta Hawks if you had taken a bazooka and a bayonet to Dominique Wilkins and Tree Rollins.
Yeah,
couldn't do it.
Yep, that was the only games we lost. It's too bad that replay's gone because it's on an old computer, and it's long gone now. But I got about halfway through that season, and they were actually on pace with their normal record, minus the 2 or 3 losses to the Atlanta Hawks, which was unbelievable.
So I pulled out Strat Basketball a couple of weeks ago. It really is my favorite basketball game. And I don't really talk about favorite games, but there's just something about that I really enjoy. So I did an 85, kind of like almost halfway through an 85, 86 Celtics replay on the old computer, pulled it back out again because I played enough strap basketball that I know how to play it better. We barely beat New Jersey in New Jersey. We survived Cleveland in Cleveland. We stomped Milwaukee in the home opener. And the fourth game of the season is against the Atlanta Hawks at the Garden. Now, this is the year that they went 40-1 at home. They lost to, I forget, can I get this mixed up? Either they lost to Dallas and Portland beat me, or they lost to Portland and Dallas beat me for the home loss. But I was laughing when that game popped up.
What year was this again?
85, 86.
85, 86, okay.
They go 40-1. They played 3 games in Hartford, and they played 38 at the Garden. And they lost, I think, in December. I mean, they went 67-15, which means that they were pretty good on the road, too. But now, granted, Atlanta was a 50-win team. This is not like you're struggling with a 30-win team or a 20-win team. Sure enough, it's a tie game with 4 seconds to go, and Dominique Wilkins is open on an inside shot, which greatly increases his chances. He draws a foul. There's 1 second on the clock in a tie game. He has to hit one. He clanks them both. We go to overtime. It's like, okay, the strat gods are with the Celtics tonight. Atlanta races out to a 9-0 spurt in overtime. The Celtics can't come back. Atlanta rightfully wins. But it's like, just from the conversations that we've had over the years, what is it about that team that vexes both of us? And so that was the impetus of
it was the Portland Trailblazers that beat them 121-103. They beat them pretty good.
Yeah.
So they beat them at home for their only loss of the season.
Only loss of the year
at home. Yeah.
So for my answer to that question, I have a player tune. We'll get through that when we read your comments. But yeah, the Atlanta. Ever since Dave started to struggle with them, every time I played against the Atlanta Hawks, they ate their Wheaties and drank their Gatorade. I cannot put them away.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's
absolutely weird.
I mean, they're not a bad team.
No, they're a 50-win team. And so it's understandable. But they were like a top 6 team maybe. But I mean, it's just weird that just keeps happening. And then the thing is for me with the Atlanta Hawks is I was playing that in regular season basketball, and they still couldn't beat him. It was every game. I mean, you did that, I think, in Brian Haferkamp's game in Atlanta 1. I mean, everything. I mean, yeah, regular season basketball, I think he didn't play the game.
The Hawks they just haunt the Celtics when I play those classic seasons, Yeah. And it's just so I guess for me, That's one of mine. So everybody knows that now. That for me, that the Atlanta Hawks are just a team that is just like, what's going on here? Why is it that the Hawks just tend to beat the Celtics all the time? And so I mean, again, it's just makes for a good storyline in the whole bit. But for that to carry over from different games, from PC to cards and dice, to quicker play games, to longer play games. And it's just the Atlanta Hawks has their number on my table on my computer.
Somewhere Skip Carey is having a good laugh.
It is. All right, so what, and before I give up my other one that's kind of a thorn in my side, why don't we read off some of the listener?
All right, let me do the Discord ones here. Wolfie says, the 71 Miami Dolphins, multiple games. God himself only knows how many times I've tried to replay the epic 1971 AFC divisional playoff game, the famous Christmas Day game between the Dolphins and the Chiefs, the longest game in NFL history. Mind you, I've played this on many different games across both the tabletop and PC of various brands for which I happen to have the 71 season. Doesn't matter what game I use and whether I'm rolling the dice or playing it on the computer, I get the same results. The Dolphins win every, and that's bolded, single time. And the games aren't even close. Miami wins in blowouts, and to date, the Chiefs have never won. I get rid of the video suggestion. By the way, have you gotten video suggestions from your own channel on YouTube?
I don't know if I have. Yeah. Yeah, every now and then it comes up and says, hey, how about watching this video? It's like, oh, that's my own. What's up with that?
I've gotten 2 in the last week from my own channel. Anyway, the other one he has is the 85-86 Detroit Red Wings in Strat Hockey Cards and Dice. OMG. Are trying to do a truncated season replay of just the Red Wings using the 85-86 card set. The Wings in real life won only 17 and finished with 40 points, both worse than the National Hockey League. Just like their real life counterparts, these Strat Wings found ways to lose. Either they get blown in the next season by Edmonton, Philly, or the Islanders, or they'd snatch defeat from the jaws of victory by coughing up 2 or more goal third period leads to the Hawks, the Blues, or Canucks. The most egregious one that he remembers was Wings at Chicago. Detroit up 3 with 6 or 7 minutes left. The usual suspects for the Blackhawks tallied: Denny Savard, Steve Larmer, Al Secord, the game-tying goal coming in the final minute with Chicago having pulled the goalie. And, of course, Savard scored in the last card of overtime to give Chicago the win. I was so mad that I actually put the game away for a few days. I wasn't mad at the game.
Yeah, I hear him, though, yeah.
Yeah, me too. It was more that I was mad the Wings were carded so accurately that they played exactly like their real-life counterparts did that season. Like a dozen eggs left on the counter, perhaps. The other one, Dan V, not knocking the game in any way, shape, or form. Really enjoy it. He's talking about Action PC Golf, but this legendary trio of Nicholas Woods and Arnold Palmer haven't lit the world on fire when playing them against other all-time greats. In fact, Nicholas and Woods missed the cut on 5 of the 11 tour events you simmed. Thanks to a recent 7th-place finish, Palmer actually improved his average from 22nd to 19th. And the final Cup standings here of nearly 100 tour golfers, here's how they finished. Woods 22nd, Palmer 25th, Nicholas 37th. The other one, he says, is the US 80 Olympic hockey team, which if you can win with that team, God bless you. Because,
right, yeah.
Nicholas was my other one I was going to add. Granted, against all-time greats, it's tougher. And Nicholas didn't necessarily play in a lot of easy courses over the years. He really just saved his 20 tournaments for the tougher ones. I don't think in the majors that I've redone with the all-time greats that he's ever won. I mean, I had Kermit Zarley and George Archer win the Masters, for crying out loud, but not Jack Nicklaus. So, all right. From our own Facebook group, Gary says Monty Irvin in several baseball one-off type games using the 54 Giants. 3 walk-off hits, 2 of which were walk-off homers. One was a walk-off using pocket pennant versus the 79 Pirates. Yes, they weren't a family after all. And the other home run was using on-deck baseball versus the 92 Blue Jays. The walk-off single was on deck again, but against the 83 Orioles.
So 2 different games.
Yep. You know, some pretty good teams, too. John says my favorite pitcher of all time, Raleigh Fingers. In general, closers seem to struggle. Yeah, I think closers are really hard to get right. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Like I said, I wouldn't really pick up on that, you know.
Joe Cards says, Andy Van Slyke, one of my all-time heroes from the tabletop, kills my teams in any replay that I do during his era, especially kills my Mets. And my response to that is, oh, too bad, so sad. Just kidding, Joe. Too bad, so sad. You know, I mean, I've talked about on the show about Van Slyke's exploits. And again, when he gave up the error in the All-Star game as the catcher, still didn't take any shine off the 2-out pinch hit home run to get the game in the extra innings.
Yeah.
S.J. Walker says, mine was for Strat Baseball, Kike Hernandez when he played for the Dodgers. I would play the Washington Nationals. Good guy. And he always seemed to get a key hit or homer to ruin the game. I think he did it to the Nats in real life as well. He did. Trust me. I covered it. For Strap basketball, it was Dr. J, always beating his 77 and 78 bullets when he did a playoff replay. I respect Dick Motta, and I could never coach Wes Unseld, Biggie, and the boys to the title. That is a heavy rebounding team, and I'm not sure how well Strat does with that. Football, as a Skins fan, I think SJ grew up in the Washington area, don't you? Mm-hmm. Roger Staubach, and for some odd reason, Jim Plunkett always had Hall of Fame stats against me. For History Maker Golf, when I do the men, Rory McIlroy, and the women, it's not really a nemesis, but that my favorite number one women's golfer, Brooke Henderson, has never won a tournament for me. Gotten close, but always bogeys or double bogeys, won the final holes to lose. Did you see where she's made a deal with the Ottawa Senators? True story.
No.
She will be carrying Senators towels in her bag next year, or the remainder of this year, next year in the LPGA.
Really?
And on one day, she'll be wearing the Senators' colors on the course.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm leaning toward back to the show. I'm leaning toward choosing. Gino Siddicool as his new favorite. Miss Henderson will not finish first if I do. And he loves the show. Thank you. And Barry says, as a kid, I replayed the entire app of 1961 Yankees. Mickey, Roger, Elson Howard, Yogi, etc. The guy that single-handedly carried the last 2 months was Clete Boyer. He was incredible. All right. So anything from you there before I read the laundry list of stuff from Sports Sims and Replays?
Well, I guess I can chime in with my other team that is a big thorn in my side, and that would be the 1972 New York Rangers. Mm-hmm. And, I played them in APA and Hockey Bones, and I'm not sure what else. And just the Bruins can't beat them. I think I've been swept, and the other one was 5 games, and just on my tabletop, the Bruins cannot beat those 72 Rangers to save their life, and we did look it up, and the Rangers actually were the better team with at least shooting percentage and stuff like that. So they were carded right in all these games. It's just, so they're carded better, but the Bruins won it that year. The Rangers did not, but I can't get the Bruins past the Rangers in that 72 series.
That's a tough one.
And it's not just one game. It's been a couple of games, too, that I've
I think we did it in 5 or 6 different games.
Yeah.
I think I quick saved it for you in Strat and an Action PC, and same thing.
Yeah. Yep. So those are my 2 big ones. The Atlanta Hawks against those classic 80 Celtics teams, and the 71-72 New York Rangers. Bruins just can't beat them.
But you got John Rattel and Brad Park eventually.
Yeah. In fact, Brad Park's probably one of my favorite defensemen ever. He's my favorite Ranger. And then he came to Boston. I was like, ooh, I like that,
All right. Kurt Berglund says, I don't care which game engine that I use. Rogers Hornsby doesn't hit. Ever. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I like that.
Okay.
And if anyone can get the 84 Tigers, the team of the 80s, to do anything in the tournament, again, regardless of game engine, they're a better man than I, Gunga Dean. Yeah, nice of you to throw in some Kipling in there, Kurt.
Yep.
Let's see. John replies, in agreement with Kurt, that 84 Strat replay original cards that Lou Whitaker can't hit lefties. Lance Parrish is a rally killer. You absolutely cannot bring Aurelio Lopez into a game with runners on base. And Jack Morris, don't get me started on Mr. Morris. Even on the tabletop, definitely pitches to the score. In my 88 replays, I think he's a 500 pitcher with an earned run average of like 4.3, 4.4. If he had pitched anywhere near a Hall of Fame level, the Tigers would be winning the division by 4 or 5 games. But anyway, and they kind of go on from there. Robert Paul says the 69 Mets never showed any magic. The Orioles swept them easily when I tried last. Well, the Orioles were a 108-win team, and the Mets, Gil Hodges. The 69 Mets come up again in this conversation. JC Sports says Dave Winfield is not a Hall of Famer on my tabletop. George Steinbrenner would agree. Someone asked what seasons he played. Mid-'80s with the Yankees. And it wasn't, I wonder how bad that was because the Yankees come close, in real life, they came close in 85 and 86. Andy P says Mickey Mantle.
Really? Really?
I'm about to do Mickey, 56 next year for me. That season was his Triple Crown season. So be curious to see how well he does with that. As well as the 61 Yankees, who were a pretty good team. They always seem to underperform. The 69 Mets and the 86 Red Sox are very frustrating most of the time. You can relate to the 86 Sox, David, can't you?
Why do you do this? Why do you do this to me?
Because it's an answer to the question. 69 Mets do not hit, and they have no power. It's all pitching. If you can't get the pitching with the 69 Mets, you weren't going very far. Don't know why with the 61 Yankees, unless you're not getting any pitching outside of Whitey Ford. And the 86 Red Sox, I mean, I believe that somewhere John McNamara, God bless his soul, stole a truck full of Lucky Charms. That team just was incredibly lucky at all the right times. All the right times. My heart is still broken. I forgave the 86 Mets when they won in 04. Okay? That's how long I held that grudge. Steve says Ted Simmons can't hit in any of his games. Hall of Fame catcher. Brian says, I'm going to destroy this name. It's a Japanese ball player, okay? Manabu Kidabepu.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Breaks my heart as a Hiroshima Carp fan. He gets shelled about half the time he starts in any game I play with him in. Even the better stars are below par. I wonder if are you using Pocket Pennant for that? Dave Little. Ever heard of him? I hear he lives someplace in Ohio.
No, he couldn't be. He didn't show up to the Hall of Fame when we were out there, so he doesn't live in Ohio anymore.
Oh, okay. Wisconsin then?
I think we drove by his house when we went out to lunch that day from the Hall of Fame, but
Dave will now ban us from the group that we're admins for. Jeff Bagwell is his answer. Not that he underperformed, but he had him in a draft league whenever I needed a run driven in. Bagwell invariably walked. Mr. Little, I'd like you to beat Mr. Boggs. Wade, pepper the wall. We need 2 runs. A walk as good as a hit. Oh, we need runs. Don't let Jim Rice run into a 6-4-3. Okay. Yeah, not bitter or anything. Greg Smith says the 68 Tigers have always struggled for him. That's a tough team because they're short. Don Wirt and Roy Euler, and Don Wirt just passed away. One of them, I think, hit 136, and the other one hit 205, and they played every day. Good luck. Jim Galvin says, Bob Horner, Kent Herbeck seem to overperform. Okay. Steve Rogers and the Expos, most specifically the 1980 Montreal Expos, beat out the Phillies. It was only 1 or 2 games, so that's not a huge surprise. I played it as played, and as carded Phillies replayed. The Expos beat them out twice. Rogers always seemed to come through. Jim, there was one in 82, my first year that I did the channel. The Expos won that World Series, and Rogers went like 23 or 24 wins. Cy Young Award, and I believe it was World Series MVP and all that. So the 80 Phillies, which were a real-life World Series team, haven't done too well for Jim. John Kuzniak, midlife crisis. I've got nothing recently that I can think of, but years ago, in a 1986 Strat NFL replay, Kurt Warner, the Seahawks running back, not the Rams quarterback, had short gains all the way across his card, and my buddy constantly rolled that damn 6 versus me. Not that you're still bitter or anything. And in the handful of games where I coached Seattle, I couldn't roll a 6. Again, still not bitter or anything. In a game that I'll never forget. And here's an Alcoa fantastic finish. Dan Marino tossed 4 touchdowns and threw for over 200 yards to take a 28-0 lead at the half. My buddy just ran the ball the whole second half versus the putrid Dolphin Rundy. Kurt Warner racked up almost 200 yards in the second half alone, rolling that GD6, keeping Marino off the field to tie me 28-28 to go to overtime. Let's end. Marino drove down the field the first drive to pay dirt and a W. Not that he's still bitter or anything, but still, that damned Kurt Warner card. Al, is it Red Sox fan? Not sure.
Al Yankees? Is it Al Yankees fan?
Al Yankees fan. John Wyatt, 67 Red Sox. Whether on the tabletop or PC, is always hold your breath. Okay. Tony says Bob Feller gets crushed in every game I use him in. That's interesting. Leon says Harmon Killebrew.
Wow.
That's interesting. In 6 years, so there is some sample size here, he didn't hit 200 with few homers. Steve B says, for some reason, Earl Batty cannot hit in my 64 payoff pitch season nor his 62 season ticket league. Just plain horrible. That's his exasperation, not mine. Jeff, whose avatar is Roberto Clemente jersey, okay? I couldn't get my favorite player, Roberto Clemente, to hit in the clutch. Or at least it seems he was never the hero on my tabletop or PC. He whiffed or grounded into a double play. Bases empty, then he became a tiger, no pun intended. But not that often. I consider it a victory if he hit 300 in between killing rallies. Ouch. Albert Guzman says, Matt Kemp, 2007 LA Dodgers in his Diamond Mine PC game. Cannot get anywhere near his real-life 342 average. There's only 3 weeks left in the season. I pushed him down to 8th in the batting order, okay? Michael Webb, posing as Dave Gardner. Roger Clemens gets shelled no matter what season. Any comment?
Clemens didn't do well on my strat replay in '86. That's for sure.
Yeah. David Troppin says trouble in terms of struggling. Yeah, Ron trying to read. Is Mickey Stanley. He can't get an over 200 average in your recent Tiger replays. Sean said, DeMarco says, I know he's supposed to be bad in 82 for his Brewers, but because of an as played, I've been forced to suffer through 17 hitless at-bats by Larry Heisel and Digital Diamond while rolling my own die. Only really, really good rolls by me could help this guy, and it just has been happening. And Tony Porter, finally, last but not least, says several. One was Cespedes, Orlando Cespedes in 2015, I think with the Mets. He struggled. So that's a very good representation and exactly what I was looking for when we came up with this. So thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody that chimed in. Let me ask you this, though. How many of those teams and players that were mentioned here, how many of those do you think were somebody's expectations that weren't met versus actual playing bad due to dice rolls?
I think some of it. I mean, I remember when you first started and you had one game when Bobby Orr gave it the puck 5 times in a row. Mm-hmm. And we had a long talk about that. And so, I mean, if it really is your favorite player, you really want that to go. I mean, the Nicholas thing, he hasn't been too bad in my things. He'll still finish top 10, top 15, get money and points and all that. But, I mean, when I play Jim Rice or David Ortiz or someone like that, I joke that I ban people for Rice hitting in a double plays, but, like it still sucks. 6, 4, 3. Great. And I got to say, as much crap as I've given Bob Stanley over the years on my channel, it is a genuine surprise when I bring him in and he pitches well. Like he gets a couple of key strikeouts because he wasn't a strikeout pitcher. He was in there to induce ground balls, which is why he pitched as long as he did in real life, because when he could do it, he was good. And when he couldn't, he made me cry. So I think some of it's that, although the Killebrew thing, I don't remember what his career batting average is, but you expect him to hit home runs. And But yeah, I think you look at some of the names that were mentioned, Tiger Woods, Mickey Mantle, things like that, where you expect absolute greatness. And average is not how you see those people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that was an interesting discussion. That's one that you brought up, like I say, a few days ago or last week. What about this topic? And it's like, boy, I think it's something we can, we all got something off our chest. That
I was sitting there at the end of that Hawks Celtics game, laughing, just laughing, and the cat's looking at me, and
here we go again.
I'm like, seriously, am I going to lose the second home game of just because they're not going to go 38-0 the rest of the way at home, depending on how much more of that I do, but and then when Dominique clanked the 2 free throws, he needed one for the win. He just needed one. I don't think they would have. I think there was 2 seconds left. I don't think the Celtics would have had a card to set up a shot. And it's like, okay. And then, I was glad when Atlanta went on that big run to start overtime, because it would have felt scripted if the Celtics had won that game, because here is a Hall of Famer. He's not missing 2 shots for the game on the line, but no one in front of him from 19 feet.
Yeah. So, yeah, good times. Yeah, I mean, it's just gives us a chance to vent over some of our frustrations about teams that just kind of make our games miserable on the desktop when we play. So that was a good one to look at there. It's a good topic. So Ron did a good job coming up with that, and he kind of took the bull by the horns and got all the answers while I've been kind of dealing with things over here at the house. So good job, Ron, by that. All right, what do you think? Should we get to our 3 stars of the week?
Absolutely.
All righty. Our number 3 star here in episode 237, in no particular order, we had Howard Rothbard.
Woohoo!
Howard, thank you so much for supporting the show. Our number 2 star is Everett H. Everett.
Yay!
Again, thank you so much, guys, for supporting the show. And our number 1 star this week, a new Patreon, we have Replay Dugout. Tom, thank you so much.
Yay!
Check out Replay Dugout on YouTube, by the way, too. There's some good stuff going on his channel that I check out as well. So, so thank you to everybody here on the 3 stars and all of our Patreons and channel members for helping us keep this thing going. Because really, if you guys weren't supporting us, I don't know if we'd be continuing on here, 5 or 6 years into this thing. So thank you so much, because I just got the Spreaker bill in the other day. I was like, oh. So I had to pay the yearly Spreaker bill. So thank you so much, guys, for doing that. All right, should we wrap it up here? What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, you've been listening to the Digital to Dice podcast. Today we talked about, I don't know what we're going to call the show. What do you want to call the show?
I was like, things that gnaw at you.
I'll come up with something. Anyways, it's the teams and the players that drive you nuts on your tabletop, that frustrate you one way or another.
That make you lose sleep.
Yeah,
that keep you up at night.
That make you bitter.
That's right.
Ways to get a hold of us. DigitalToDice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, Facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. Well, that was a good one. I got to get a couple things off my chest, get those Hawks and those Rangers off my chest.
I feel better. I can put away the Gary Carter voodoo doll now.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.